check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hello. You always say something funny before we start the podcast. So I come into the podcast looking like I'm just always smiling when really it's just you've said something completely outlandish before we start. And then I hit record.
But we're always laughing, to be fair. So there's always smiles on our face, which is a good thing, I think. What's the point of not laughing all day long?
Physiologically speaking, it is actually healthy for you to laugh and smile as much as possible.
I have done that my whole life. When I was little, I used to laugh so hard like I'd almost pee my pants, like a little pee would come out. And now I think about that, I'm like, how come I don't laugh that hard anymore? Like, I want to laugh that hard again. And I still laugh a lot, but like not that hard. So I'm like, something is missing. Where is the laughter like that?
I feel like that's a female thing because I've never once heard a guy like, I laughed so hard I tinkled a little bit in my pants. I've never heard that.
I didn't say tinkled, but yes, it did
But
happen.
You actually full on peed?
Well, a little bit, a little bit. Just a little bit. When it comes out, you're like, oh my God, and then you run to the bathroom. But the point is, the reason why it happens is you're laughing so hard that you don't even think about it. And then all of a sudden you notice that and you're like, but how come I don't do that anymore? What happens when we get older? Why don't we laugh like that? But I think that's one of the good things about our relationship is that we do laugh a lot, but I've not laughed to peeing yet.
And I'm actually never going to try and get you to laugh until you urinate on yourself. Laughing till you cry is good enough. If I can make someone laugh up until the point of crying, I've done my job.
We've done that. So anyways, I told Michael that I really, really I love a lot of movies. I wouldn't even say I'm a movie buff because I think that like implies I'm some kind of connoisseur, and I'm totally not. Like, I just love movies for the entertainment value. But the movie The Arrival was back on Hulu this week, and so I had to watch it again for like the 10th time. And I love that movie. And Mike says that he hates that movie. And so I made him watch it again, and we're going to discuss today. And maybe you can chime in. What do you like? Do you like the movie or do you hate it? But I think it just brings up so many, like, okay, of course, it's fiction. I understand. But I get lost in movies and think about how they can be real life. And so I think number one, it brings up the question, like, do you think that we're the only life in this universe, planet, world, whatever?
Oh, you're actually asking me that?
Yes.
Oh, before I answer that question, it dawned on me while watching the movie that you and Amy Adams are like near identical twins. So that's probably why you enjoyed it so much.
This is number one. This is not true. I get this all the time.
People tell you that?
Every actress. Amy Adams, that's the first I've gotten of her. Every single actress. Like somebody told me I look like Sigourney Weaver on Ghostbusters. Somebody told me I look like Jessica Alba one time. I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Somebody told me I get like every actress.
Was he trying to get your phone number?
Everybody's friend, everybody's sister. Like, I have that face that everybody thinks that I look like somebody. I'll go to a restaurant and the waiter or waitress will be staring at me, and I'm like, oh, they think I'm somebody else for sure. And they come over, they're like, hey, weren't you here last time? I was like, no, I was not. They're like, yeah. I was like, no, I wasn't. All the time. Like, something about my face, it just looks like everybody. It's very unoriginal. Like, what are you gonna do? Okay. I don't think I look at all like Amy Adams, but okay.
Adams. Well, you just went straight to Minnesota on that one, didn't you? Two actresses you look like, and then I'll answer your question. You look like Amy Adams, and you look like the girl from she's in all the Judd Apatow movies.
His former wife.
Is that his wife?
His ex-wife.
The one that was in like Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. But yeah, you look just like her.
I think I look nothing like either one of them. My friend says I look just like Norm from the poker table used to say I look like this girl who was on Black, that show, Black something, whatever. And every single day somebody tells me I look like somebody, and they're all different. And everybody says I look exactly like her. Every single one of them. There's like 50 different people in my life that I look exactly like, apparently.
Moving on. Yes, I absolutely believe there's life out there. Probably not in our solar system, but definitely there's life out there. The universe is just far too vast for there not to be any form of life out there. Now, whether they're little green men with big heads and big eyes and all that, I mean, I have no idea. Uh, but I do believe there's life out there, and I feel like that life is probably more intelligent than man.
Hmm. Why? Why do you think it's more intelligent?
Because I think we've actually been visited by other life forms. Um, I'm not some huge like conspiracy theorist or Area 51 black helicopters, that kind of thinking, but I do believe that the US government has probably interacted with some aliens on a not a like communication level, like trying to communicate with them, but literally like Air Force pilots like seeing things out there, or maybe even Area 51, maybe an alien spacecraft did crash into I want to say it's the Nevada desert, right? That's where Area 51 is. Either there or Arizona, I can't remember. No, Nevada. And obviously it wouldn't be too far-fetched to believe that our government would hide stuff from us, because I believe our government hides more from us than they allow us to know. So I've sort of always believed there's life out there. That's not like anything that I've come to the conclusion of at my age now. I've just always believed that the universe is just so incredibly vast that we cannot. I mean, what would be the percent of chance that we on Earth, and Earth probably represents like 0.0000000 to the 100,000th power one percent of space in the universe. So that means that 99.99999, to the 100th power is empty. I just, that's hard for me to believe just using logic. Forget like needing to be like all like, ooh, I believe in aliens. Like if you just use logic, it seems like you would come to the conclusion that we just sort of have to be, you know, members of a larger community of life in the universe.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Obviously, I think the reason why we say there's not, or it's a conspiracy theory, I think that they're possibly aliens is, number one, we gave them the name aliens. Like it's already like us and them, it's like, oh, these crazy outsiders somewhere and who knows. And then number two, the story we tell ourselves always is that they're more intelligent and more than likely they want to come and destroy us. That's the story we tell ourselves. So
that's because we're so destructive.
But exactly, we're pointing at them the finger that it's our problem, whoever they are. But I 100% agree. I think, how is it even fathomable that we'd be the only one? I think that's just a part of our conceit, thinking we're like these ultimate apex predator, not just of the earth, but of the entire universe.
Guns rule.
We are the ultimate, like, and we can't fathom. I mean, even the idea of thinking of what will evolve into, like people talking about AI and how, at some point in life, there probably be human hybrid AI, like, you lose a limb, maybe it'll be artificially like robotish, right? Like that's what I think slowly evolution will happen over time.
But you believe in cyborgs, huh?
People are scared like that's going to happen, because why are they scared? Because they don't want us to change, because we think that we are so important and so special that we can't possibly evolve into something different, and there can't possibly be something different that's better than us out there, which I think is just so funny. So like they're
evolve
aliens
into something different. I would love to delve into that. What do you mean evolve into something?
well
So man is basically going to evolve.
What did we
another...
evolve from? I mean, we've evolution means we're changing, right? It's constant change. It doesn't feel that way in our lifetimes, because we only live a certain amount of time, but over
that's a huge presumption.
over hundreds of thousands of years, there's a lot of change in what a human being is, right?
See, now you want to just take us off topic.
No, I don't. Let's
take
go
us
back to
the
the arrival. We'll
evolution.
talk about evolution a different day.
Because I don't know if man is as old as you may think, but yeah, I have some pretty deep thoughts on all that. But anyway, yes, The Arrival. What about The Arrival, dear? You forced me to watch it. What do you want to know?
Well, number one, you used to hate it, but you said maybe you have changed your mind this time. Did you like it more this time?
Yes. I did like it more than I liked it, and I only saw it the one time when it originally came out, and I think I checked to see what year it came out, and it came out in 2016, so it's about 5 years ago. I can just remember sitting in a movie theater watching that movie by myself and feeling very like bored. I mean, it didn't stimulate any sort of like, ooh, it just, I don't know, I don't know. But watching it yesterday, I think I actually liked the communication between the other life forms. We won't call them aliens any longer. The other life the other life forms and the human beings. The whole time is linear, and Amy Adams' character was existing in multiple time, blocks or whatever we want to call them. That really didn't intrigue me all that much.
Ooh, but that's the whole thing. Like, that's their language.
I don't know.
By the way, I love other life forms. I think that's what we should call them. Other life forms. They're other forms of life. Why do they have to be aliens? Aliens
That's
is all
actually what I'm going to start calling you. I just thought about that. I was like, that's what Nicole is. She's an other life form. Like, she's not human.
Perhaps. When we get to the corona conversation, that's what everyone's gonna call me. But anyways,
I never get sick.
anyways, I think that's actually the most fascinating part. What you're talking about is that's her language. So if you have not seen this movie, go back and watch it. Michael and I love to watch movies and dissect them, and mostly we do not like the same movies. So we try to convince each other of why they're great. But go back and watch this movie because we're going to talk all about it, and it's really good. But the most fascinating part to me is the part that you said is not fascinating, is that the idea of their language, which is that they see time differently, right? I mean, even their time is cyclical. Everything they do is cyclical. Their language is cyclical. They're seeing everything at once. Even they tell her, like, in 3,000 years, we're going to need your help. This is why we're offering this gift today of our language. Please use it. And we hope that you'll help us in 3,000 years from now, right? Like 3,000, what? Like, I think that's fascinating because, stay with me here. Remember how we talked about race is a construct, right? And what's a construct? Something that we define, some way that humans have used to devise meaning from life. And we have found out that the way that we have devised meaning, naming race, naming different colors and cultures racially, is not really the best construct, right? We found out, like, yeah, that's not a thing. But that's what we use. That's how we defined it. I think time is also a construct. I think it's the same thing. And we can't quite fathom it because for us, we have laid it out as, we have a calendar, and then we have days in the calendar, and then we have hours in the day, and then we have minutes in the, and we've needed that 100% in order to write about history and to talk about when things happened and to look back in time and to schedule dates, whatever, it is very, very useful. But the idea of time itself is really just something that we designed. And I don't wonder, if we didn't, what would happen, like how we'd see life if we wouldn't see it so linearly.
I am actually laughing on the inside because you literally just hijacked my entire argument we had on the poker table about 3 or 4 years ago, because that's the way that I described how time is seen, and you went off on me and a couple other people at the table telling us that that was, not
No, that's not true.
not the
I've always thought this, but you guys got upset at me saying that time is
I wasn't
linear.
upset with you. I just thought it was interesting, your argument.
Mhm.
I actually don't think that time is, well, let me just answer it like this. You are correct. Um, Time is something that we as mankind defined, right? 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, 30 to 31 days in a month, 365 days a year, leap year every 7 years. We did that, right? In my mind, the way that I think, how do I put this? So I have to kind of inject God into this, and I'll tell you why. Because the way that I see time, I almost try and look through the prism of how I believe God sees time, because I believe that God exists in all points of time, like right now, in the future, at every point in the future, at every point in the past. So and that, by the way, just so you know, that is why I didn't find the time aspect of the movie intriguing, is because I already saw time that way anyway. So it wasn't very revelatory for me. It was just an illustration of how I already think. So it wasn't like mind blowing or anything like that. If we all took our watches and clocks and so forth and threw them in the ocean, and nobody could tell you it was 11:15 right now, right? we would just sort of we would just sort of exist, right? And life would come at us. We would go to sleep when we were tired, we would wake up when we're not anymore, right? We sort of define our entire lives by time, if you think about it. um when do we have to register our car? What time do we have to be at work? What time do we get off? What time do we start the podcast? How long is the podcast going to be? Everything I think in life is defined. Even if you think about it in terms of like prison, right? How much time do you get in behind bars? Uh, I think time is both a wonderful concept that man has laid out. And I think it also is very limiting in probably how we will evolve and go forward. If we're yes.
I think it's even beyond that though. It's just even beyond the idea that, how we're laying out our life now. It's what's fascinating about how they see time is that they literally see entire lifetimes and more all at once, right? And you said, when she started to see her future and her past, and she started to see this kid that she hasn't had yet, and her life with the kid, and the fact that the kid is going to get a rare disease and die. And she sees all of that, and she can pull information from one point to use now for another point. And that's what I'm talking about. So not just the idea that we use time to delineate our day, but the idea that if we could fathom that that's possible, like, could we do it? And I think we could, honestly. I think that our brain is capable of so much more than we can even fathom.
Oh,
And
I
that was my
couldn't
argument.
agree
And
with you
when you
more.
guys went crazy on me on the poker table, we're like, and you
I
told
love
me on
how
the
you
phone,
described me as going crazy
you
with you,
you
and
did.
I
You even
literally
told
was
me you're
not even in the
absolutely
argument with you.
wrong. I side with Ryan. You're absolutely wrong. And then you just got on here today. It's like, no, that was my argument. Like, what? What?
No, and anyway, let me just say that you encouraged the listeners to watch the movie, and you have literally laid out the entire movie for them. You gave
I,
no spoiler, like
I told them, yeah, like,
warning.
oh, well, I'll give a spoiler. But the point is like, I can't believe you don't find that fascinating. I find that so fascinating because, okay, think about it like this. Think about, who do you think is a modern day like superhero? Have you heard of one or read about one, or like somebody who does something that we thought before was impossible?
I mean, I feel like the only sort of references to answer that question would be like athletic, right? It would be kind of physical achievements that we didn't see coming, like the sub 10-second 100-meter dash, the sub 5-minute mile. I don't know. Well, first of all, let me just answer the question directly. I don't know that I see anyone superhero-ish. I don't.
I
Yeah.
have read about a lot, and the biggest one that I've read about is Wim Hof. Have you heard about him?
No.
So okay, so you know when you like climb mountains like Kilimanjaro and really right, people climb them in full gear and spend years practicing, and many still die and freeze to death and whatever. He climbs them in his underwear, like literally in his underwear, and he does it
Oh, I
through.
did see something on that guy. Yes, I saw a piece on him maybe 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago on 60 Minutes.
Yeah,
He
does
lost
it.
his wife, right?
She killed herself.
He lost his wife. Yeah, she killed herself, and he can like submerge himself in like ice cold water for like hours at a time, and stuff that would send other people in hypothermia. Yeah, I do. I know that guy for sure.
Well, not stuff that would just send other people, stuff that would kill other people. Stuff that we think, stuff that we say still that if you do this, you're going to die, right? But he does it over and over again. And by climbing mountains in his underwear, I mean like literally only in his underwear, his boxers. Climbing a mountain is just not like a one-day affair. This is weeks and weeks and weeks climbing a mountain, sleeping on the mountain in his underwear. So the idea, when you really think about that, like that's superhuman shit for the average human. We just can't do it. But he does. Not only does he do it, he teaches people to do it.
Right.
So he clearly understands what he's doing and what he's controlling. And what he's controlling is his autonomic nervous system, which is the system that we believe happens automatically that we don't have control of. But he is controlling. He has learned how to control it through his breathing. This is what I'm saying. Imagine what we're capable of when we stop limiting ourselves, saying that we can't, right? Like that's where I see this when I watch movies and stuff happens like in this Arrival, and she sees time this way, which not just as a construct, but literally as she can see entire lifetimes all in once in one moment. And that's what you say too, right? Like all we have is one moment. If you get it big into meditation and Eckhart Tolle and all that, all there is this moment, right? And that includes all of time. So that's kind of what this movie, this language is saying, but really kind of showing it in action. But I don't wonder if we couldn't do that now. We don't need aliens to do it. If we couldn't do it now, if we didn't tell ourselves we couldn't, right? Like if Wim Hof can do this, can find a way to do this, something that we still say you can't do, you're going to die. I mean, and most people do. People die, freeze to death all the time, right? But he can do it.
So I I was kind of with you until you sort of gave description on, how do you say his name?
Wim Hof. W-I-M, Wim.
Wim
Hof.
Because the piece that I saw on him, his ability to do the things that he does is explained by medical science. So he has a condition, if you will, that allows him to tolerate extreme cold. And I'm realizing
it's not a condition. It's a tool that he has learned using his own self.
That's why
breathing.
That's my contention, is that it's not a tool and it wasn't learned, because he literally just had it in him. What he learned was how to sort of what's the best way to put it? Sort of how to manipulate the tool to a certain degree. But the people that he teaches to do the things that he's doing, like none of them are actually successful anywhere near the level that he's successful, because they don't have the same genetic makeup that he has.
That's not true. They're climbing Kilimanjaro with him, and are
they not?
My
mom climbed Kilimanjaro in her 60s. Like that's not
in her
feat.
Underwear for a month at a time. Like,
but,
listen,
but I don't remember them saying that anyone else did that besides
they did
him.
And there's pictures of it. Yes, they did. And that's the thing. And you just say that they don't do it at his level. Well, they don't practice it at his level. Right? I mean, he's like a professional poker player. And he does this all day long, every day. This is what he's done to hone his tool. Right? So but that's what I'm saying. When you sit and you think that we are capable of that, like Does that mean that we can just do it? No, but he has taught others. That means we are capable. And if we sit and we think about it and we work on it and we practice it, imagine what we can do. That's my thing. I think we limit ourselves so much. I mean, even you talked about the mile, breaking the 5-minute mile. We've talked about this at the poker table, right? Like nobody could do it. Nobody could do it. Nobody could do it. And then one person did it, and then like 80 people did it right after. Why? Because nobody thought they could. Right? No, like, no, you can't break a 5-minute mile. No, you can't. It's this construct in our mind. But then the minute somebody does it, now we're like, oh, I am capable of that. Okay, I can do that. Right? It's like, that's so fascinating to me.
I think that's an oversimplification of human ability, and I'll tell you why. Because yes, you can pick out these 1 to 2 people per billion, right? So if there's 8 billion people in the world, then how many of them could run the sub 5-minute mile? And it's probably a lot now, but I'm just saying a low percentage of people
now, right?
But
none before.
But if you look at someone, for instance, like Michael Phelps, right? In my opinion, probably the greatest Olympian of all time, any sport. I mean, I don't know that anyone dominated a sport the way he dominated his sport, an individual sport. Well, and I guess it could be a team sport as well too. But anyway, they've done so many studies on Michael Phelps to understand like why he was so fast, how he was able to just hone his ability to just like screech through the water at just breakneck speeds and all that. And what they found was Michael Phelps has this thing where he has like this ridiculously large lung capacity for even, an athlete of his stature, and also his cells respond to oxygen much differently than, I don't remember the percentages, but let's just say 99% of us, right? So he had a genetic advantage over everybody else in the pool.
You know what else he had? He had a training advantage and a professional advantage. He trained 7 days a week, twice a day, not 6 days a week like all the other ones did.
I don't know about that. I can't answer that.
I think, again, it's like, I think you're seeing things as destiny versus choice. And I think this is our same argument. You're saying, oh, well, he's just destined. He just was born that way. And I disagree. I think that we are capable of so much more.
That's not what I'm saying at all. He worked hard to do everything he did. I'm in no way, shape, or form taking anything away from all the work that he put in to become the man that he did, right? Because you're capable of some things and I'm capable of some things that we never did. I don't say this in any way, shape, or form to be like arrogant or pat myself on the back, but I know at 44 years old that in a couple different sports, if I would have had the desire to really go hard, I could have absolutely been a professional athlete in probably more than one sport. But I didn't have that same drive that Michael Phelps had to do that thing. So I'm not taking away from his hard work and his decision to become the best. What I'm saying is it's like having a broken down Ferrari, and then deciding you're going to put the work in to fix up the Ferrari. And then guess what? Once the Ferrari is fixed up, you've got one of the fastest cars on the street, right? I mean, that's just the way I look at it. He had a vehicle in his body that he decided he was going to fine tune and make it the best he could make it. And he did that. And by doing that, he proved to be, once again, in my opinion, the greatest Olympian ever. So I don't know if Michael Phelps is the next stage in human evolution. I think Michael Phelps is an anomaly. I think Michael Jordan was an anomaly. I mean,
I think there's something in common with all of these people we're talking about, Wim Hof and Michael Phelps and Michael Jordan, and it's accessing that additional level, which is their mental capabilities. And I think that's where I think you and I are disagreeing in this part. And what fascinates me is what I think is that our mind is capable of so much more than we even know. That's what I think.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. That's and when I watched this movie and in any movie, what makes me think this way, it's exciting for me, and also it makes me feel like I'm such a schmuck because I do nothing with my life. But I need to be out there like climbing Kilimanjaro in my underwear or something. But
Just climbing Kilimanjaro would be a nice little feat. Doing it in your underwear would just be showing off.
I mean, there's even I just read a book, Super Metahuman, maybe it's called. And in the book, there's a chapter on a girl who in this day in 2019 or something, she doing her thesis on talking to birds. And she does it. You sit down and you're like, you talk to birds? She's like, yeah. She's like, I'll show you. And you sit down on a bench with her and she looks up at them and she does it with her mind. And they literally come to her. Wild birds, not domesticated birds. And that's in this time right now. So you're saying, okay, well, maybe someone has a genetic predisposition towards something. Sure. Yeah, maybe we all have genetic predispositions towards more talents than we know that we're capable of. But I just feel like we limit ourselves with all these constructs. And I think time is one of them. And so I'm trying to wrap my brain around how would we change that? Like, oh, we like need time so much, right? Everything we do, like you said, everything we do revolves around the idea of time. And, oh, I only have this much time. And, oh, there's not much time left. And how am I going to get this all done in my life? And like, but all we really have is this, like, this one moment right now. How do we figure that out? Like, that's what I'm trying to wrap my brain around.
Did you just reveal to all 40 of our listeners
all 8.2
that mutants exist?
I think I mean that again, this is how we scare ourselves, or this is how we get, oh no, aliens. Like,
I am an X-Men fan, dude. I wish I had a mutant skill.
you
probably
might.
have no idea who the X-Men are because you're only watching The Arrival.
I do like X-Men. I do like those movies.
Do you really? Okay. Yeah. Well, like, what would your mutant skill be? Just
for sure.
I'm curious.
For sure, reading minds.
Ooh, I would never want to read people's minds. I think that would be so incredibly like hurtful to hear all the things that people are saying about you when you're.
I'm sure you can control it. It's not like you have to do it if you don't want to. But I mean, for sure, like that would be. I mean, it just would be mine because that's just how I feel right now. Like sometimes I feel like somebody, I can read it now and it's more instinctually, it's feeling, but you know me, like sometimes I get next to something, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what they're thinking right now. Like, right. So I was like, that would definitely be mine for sure.
What am I thinking right now?
I'm not going to say what would, because it's not positive about me. What would yours be?
I would probably want the ability to just be invisible.
You want to just naked ladies.
I mean, yeah, but you know. No, I would just want to be invisible because imagine the places you could go if you couldn't be seen, right? I could go into the White House and be listening to like top secret meetings about what's really going. Have we discovered aliens? The stuff that people are, that people in government are not talking about, right? I mean, if you're invisible and they can't see you, then I can just be anywhere at any time. Literally seeing naked ladies would be priority number 1000 of 1500. So there'd be like 500 less priorities.
I love the movie Jumper, where he can jump to anywhere. Like, oh yeah, I would want to do that. There's so many powers that I would want, but my thought is that in this day and age, I bet we have more capabilities than we realize. We're so concerned with all this outwardly stuff, like, oh no, the world is going to hell in a handbasket. Like maybe we all need to just figure out what our mutant superpower is.
You know what? As an X-Men fan, let that be the last word of this particular episode.
All right, we'll see you next time.